we're in the final mishpar of the year, so first of all, to say mazel tov to our esteemed and distinguished graduates. We wish you more mazel tov on Sunday, but we'll start the process now. And shkoyach to everyone, future graduates, for an amazing, outstanding, wonderful year at YDA. And also special thanks for this evening's refreshments to my wife, Kabar, who made nice barbecue beef. So you were talking a little about kashmirs last week, this week, but you'll see it's not so bad. It's good kashmirs. Okay, plus French fries, etc. There should be enough beef for everybody, assuming that we eat, reasonable portions. I think it's total 9 pounds of meat, which comes out to 7 ounces a person. I don't know, 8 ounces. A lot of fries. Okay. All right, so this is a little unusual. So last week there's in speaking, you want to have like one central point you get across, not two completely different things. This will be an exception because it's our last week of Mishmar, and want to continue and finish off last week, but also want to mention a quick year-end message, which is totally different. So to continue from last week, we're speaking about Nazir, and had that very striking debate in the Gemara, the Talmud, about that a Nazir, a person who swears off and prohibits from himself or herself permitted things, according to one opinion, that's kadosh, totally. To go ahead and restrict oneself from that which is permitted is a righteous thing to do. And the other one says choti, it's a sinner. Hashem already prohibited many things. We don't have to add new prohibitions. Pointed out last week that there were times in Jewish history that Jewish communities and the yeshivas were very ascetic, very into denial of the physical. That's so much the minhag, the practice today. It seems that we're more into using the physical. But I had said, and this is where we ran out of time last week, that there are times that one needs to say no and stand away from that which is permitted even. And there are times we do need to distance ourselves to material. That's a big, huge discussion about when and how and why. I want to just focus on one aspect of that discussion tonight, and to bring it in with a short discussion, a description, and a distinction. First, the discussion between a man, elderly, wise, philosophical gentleman, and his teenage son, who's not so wise and elderly and philosophical. And the teenage son, is trying to convince his father why the father needs to spend his money, time, and effort to send him to a top prestigious prep school with all the bells and whistles that makes all the top 10 statistics in the country. That's where he needs to go. So the question goes to his father. His father says to him, why? So his son says, because, Pop, if I go to such a great, amazing school, I'll be able to get into a top college, top university, Ivy League. And the father says, so then what? He says, well, then I'll be able to get into an excellent graduate school, law school, medical school. I'll be able to have my choice of the best schools. He says, that's fine. And then what? Well, I'll graduate with a top degree from a top school. I'll be able to get a great job, make lots of money. He says, and then what? Well, I'll have a lot of money. I'll be rich. I'll be able to go ahead and, get married, have children, be able to give them all the things we want, be able to live in a much nicer house than you and Mom have, and have all the amenities and plush furniture, and we'll be able to have wonderful clothing, and we'll have all the comforts and luxuries and vacations and great food. And so the father says, fine, and then what? So I'm like, for me, what do you mean, then what? That's it? That's all, I'll have it all. That's our little discussion. Description. Also physical. Beautiful, beautiful banquet hall. Every table is set to perfection with very, 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 very nice linen, napkins, china. And the food's pretty good, set on the table also as well. And the lighting is beautiful from the chandeliers. The decorations, gorgeous everywhere. Very pretty, beautifully tasteful flowers set up on all the tables. Beautiful, 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 elegant room. A lot of physical. And in that room, there are 2 people. Actually, a lot of people. But in addition to the many people in that room are 2 people. One of them is a young man in a nice dark suit, maybe a tuxedo, with a white tie. maybe a hat, maybe not a hat, and a young lady wearing a long white dress. The distinction between our discussion and our description. The kid, what does he want? He wants materialism. He wants money. He wants wealth. He wants gashmias. For what purpose? For more gashmias. He wants money so he can have it all. And what's the purpose of having it all? Just to have it all, just to enjoy it. Just to enjoy pleasures. There's no higher goal or purpose. The be-all and end-all of the wealth is to be wealthy. The be-all and end-all of the physical is to be physical. And in the second case, that description of that beautiful wedding hall, there's a lot of gashmias there. And it's so nice, and it's so tasteful, it's so beautiful, and it's elegant, and it's for a purpose. To go ahead and give a certain aura, and a certain beauty, and charm, and mystique, and mystery, and wonderful feeling as this most beautiful holy event happens when you have a Jewish man and a Jewish woman to embark together and build a Bayis Stem of Israel. And that essentially is the difference. You have physical, you have pleasures that we pursue that have a purpose. There's a goal, there's an end. Why is it? Why do we want to head and enjoy and do? If it's part of a goal, an end game, where there's something higher, we're going to go ahead and try to enjoy this world so that we can go ahead and be happier, more successful, better people, so that we can be better, so we can be more righteous, so we can grow, so we can make a difference and help others also to enjoy this world, so we come close to Hashem. Then that's a purpose, that's a goal. And when it's the other one, the physical, that's just to be more physical, that's just animalistic, that's going nowhere, and what is that? And in a nutshell, essentially, when in life we recognize that we're engaging in the physical, and that's all we care about. It's not for a higher purpose. It's not getting us anywhere, or the worse even. It's distracting us. And we know that engaging in this is permitted, but we know that it takes us away from Hashem, takes us away from mitzvos, takes us away from serving Klal Yisrael, and just engages our animal side. That's the pleasure to stay away from. And the pleasure to engage in is the pleasure that gives us a simchas chayim, helps us be nice, normal mention who can go ahead and be better over to Hashem, better learning Torah, better serving Hashem, better serving Klal Yisrael in the world. Okay, that's part one, finished from last week. And now, part two, a completely different note on the Parsha. This will be our last Mishmar message of the year. Or my last Mishmar message of the year. At the end of the Parsha, we learn about how Miriam spoke negatively about Moshe Rabbeinu and was punished with tzaras. And after being punished with tzaras, the entire Bnei Israel waited for Miriam. She was tamei, she was impure for 7 days, and all of Klal Yisrael waited. No one traveled until Miriam was ready to go, and then they all followed. The Mishnah in Sotah, Tesla Beis, says Miriam, this incredible thing, this one woman, all of Klal Yisrael, millions of people all waited for her, because Miriam herself had done some waiting as well. Miriam, she waited for Moshe. She watched over Moshe in the river when he was a baby to protect him, when she was a little girl. And because of that, b'schar zeh, Hashem rewarded her many times over. Even though she was punished for speaking Lashon Hara, nevertheless, she is rewarded. The entire nation waits for her for an entire week because of what she did. It's a very, very beautiful chazal. Mida K'neged Mida, the Gemara is talking about there. There's a very interesting question which is raised, and it's kind of close to home because it's raised by someone who's very close to, was very close to Richmond. Reb Shia Weinberger, his holy Zaidi, Zetzal, who wrote a sefer, Shemen HaTov. If you don't have it already, I highly recommend it. And he asked the question, Weinberger asked the question, why so many years take place? It's over 80 years before there's the turnaround, there's the return, there's the payback for Miriam. Striking. Hashem usually doesn't wait so long. Why in this case so long? And he suggests that maybe you could say because this is what Miriam really needed. He doesn't like that answer. And he says much better. This is a beautiful idea. He says the reason why now, When Miriam waited for Moshe by the river and was instrumental, was a part of his shtadlus of saving his life, it was a tremendous thing, a wonderful thing. But it didn't become clear just how wonderful it was until right now. He points out, because after Miriam spoke against Moshe, Hashem says, how can you say that about Moshe? And all Bnei Israel are going to hear this message. How can you say that Moshe? Moshe is my trusted servant. He is the most trusted in my house. I speak to him peh el peh. I speak to mouth like no one else, without a vision. He is closer to me than any human being alive ever has been or will be. He's the greatest person in history. At this point, it now becomes clear. Bnei Israel didn't always appreciate the greatness of Moshe. At this point now, it's like, okay, Miriam, over 80 years ago, saved the life of this little boy. But now we realize she saved the life of the greatest person ever. Now, in retrospect of history, we understand just incredible and how powerful what she did was. And that's why now she gets the schus. All of Klal Yisrael realizing, wow, what she did 80 years ago, she saved someone who talks directly to Hashem, which no one else can ever do. It's a beautiful idea, and it's an idea which comes up frequently. We have instances where there's something someone does and it's appreciated, but it isn't until even a generation later that's fully appreciated. Someone has something that's really wonderful, and they know it's wonderful, but a year later they realize even more so, and by the end of their life they even realize more so to the nth degree. And all of us have those opportunities to reflect and realize, wow, once upon a time I thought this was great, but now I realize it's better than great. It's the best. And so my closing message is just to share with you one very short personal experience that I have with that. And that is this room. Space Medrash. Wasn't quite the same. But I first walked into the Space Medrash about 20 years ago. The Klashik was giving me a tour of the new yeshiva. This was when I was moving back to Richmond, Virginia, and I remember how excited I was. Space Medrash, yeshiva, Richmond. First, you guys know, it's the first yeshiva in the history of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Well, for us in Richmond, it was the first yeshiva in Richmond, the only yeshiva in Richmond. And Beis Medrash. There were two shuls in town that had Beis Medrash and people davened, but not like a Beis Medrash. And I remember how excited I was. Wow, wonderful, amazing, a new era. I'm so excited about it. And I really appreciated it. Well, it's now 20 years later. I can tell you, the appreciation I had then is nothing compared to what I recognize about the Space Medicine Yeshiva today, 20 years later. And to have seen the unbelievable growth that Talmidim have come, literally changing their lives, boys who came, some of them had either never opened a Gemara, or when they opened it, it wasn't very tasteful, and then came to blossom and grow and go on to outstanding yeshivas and become amazing B'nai Torah, raising wonderful Torah families. And the people who changed their lives in so many other positives. It wasn't just the learning, but it was the midas and the derech eretz, and everything about their lives. So much growth. So many amazing things. And I'll tell you, it's funny, because 20 years being back in this community, and in some ways this past year, I gained an appreciation more than all the years in which I taught here. This past year I had the opportunity to be here a lot more during the day. I didn't have a afternoon job at the day school that kept me out of the Beis Medrash. I was able to see in the morning how guys are steiging away with an amazing, unbelievable Rebbe like Rabbi David, who's Kula Torah, all Torah, and giving Beis Medrash level shir to guys who are hungering and thirsting for learning. To see how the davening gets better and better throughout the year and throughout the years, and people who first came in maybe weren't even coming to davening, and now are davening so beautifully, connecting to Hashem every day so meaningfully. And probably this is what strikes the closest to home, to see this unbelievable thing. Such a thing that should be never possible, never imagined here. The afternoons and evenings, people who come, and this is what Beis Medrash is for, people with their free time, when they don't have to, when they can be doing other things, whether it's boys in the yeshiva or adults in the community who are coming here to learn Torah Lishma in their own free time. And all those things have been possible because of the amazing Rebbeim. I mentioned Rabbi David, of course Rabbi Geist, who doesn't need my haskama, a man who's working his way through Shas so humbly and quietly and patiently. And Rabbi Tzvi David, who I can't get used to calling you RTK, not yet. Very, very dear Tom. Now, Rebbe Yonik V'chacham, Chazal speak about a person who's young and a great Torah scholar who also needs to be stood up for. The wonderful teachers and staff you have as well. And of course, at the helm, the person who was the one person who had the dream and the one person who made the dream come to reality. And certainly a person who, however much I appreciate him 20 years ago, is nothing compared to the Carson Tov appreciation I have from today. Your Menayel.